Conditions with the state of Illinois. The area that was identified on Franklin Avenue was designated as a TIF. There are 6 other TIFs in Franklin Park for a total of 7 TIFs. The battery keeps on coming on. It'll start and then it'll go off. We did it the last time and it didn't work. What does a TIF mean? A TIF is called a tax increment financing district because it has to do obviously with taxes. Let's say that the property in question that was developed, just as an example, had a tax base of $100,000. So the school boards, the grammar school, the high school, Triton College, the Park District, the Library Board, the county, the Metropolitan Water Reclamation District, all of those people got a part of the $100,000. When the property is developed, the assessor comes out and does a nasty thing to it. He reassesses that property and determines its new equalized assessed value. If the taxes go up on that parcel, say from $100,000 to $150,000 of taxes, the entities that are getting taxes, the school boards, the Park District, the library, the Reclamation District, the county, the township, that money that they get from that property stays the same, so they're still getting $100,000. What happens to the other $50,000? It has to go into a TIF fund to pay for improvements to that property. Some of those improvements would be utilities, electric, natural gas, streets, sewers, water. It can be used to design a building. It can't be used to build a building, but it can be used to design the building. Now what happens if when you start the TIF and you have a developer, there's not enough money in the TIF to pay for all of those things? There's a bond issued for that TIF. So there is money that we are suddenly paying taxes on for a development that we hope will improve the property and bring it up to a higher value and thus pay more taxes and thus relieve you of tax burdens. By law, that money is supposed to be segregated. It can't be used for the village's salaries or pensions or health care. It can't be used to repair your snowplows. It can't be used to replace police vehicles or fire vehicles. It can't be used to do inspections. It can only be used in that TIF. So in those TIFs, there's supposed to be $9.2 million. The $9.2 million was used by the operating expenses illegally to pay for health care, pensions, salaries, and additional items. So this year we've got a $2.5 million deficit. The deficit started in 2002. They're structural deficits. What is a structural deficit? Many municipalities are encouraging deficits because the economy has gone down. Franklin Park is experiencing a deficit because 7 years ago we started expending more money than we were bringing in, and we were borrowing it from these TIFs and the water fund and the sewer fund and the MFT fund. $2.5 million is the amount that we had to cut. We also were told by OSHA that we could not occupy the police station anymore. 10 years ago, the police station's roof should have been replaced. It was not. The police station's roof has about 22,000 gallons of water that has seeped into the gypsum. It's created a very heavy load on it, and OSHA came out and said we could no longer occupy the village board meeting where we used to hold the village board meetings, and we can't occupy one of the interrogation rooms that the police used to use. The weight of the roof has created such a burden that the walls have buckled in. There's asbestos in the police station. So in order to remove the asbestos, we would have to hire a company that is licensed to remove asbestos. They would have to come in, remove the asbestos before we could even take the roof off. Then the roof would have to be taken off. The roof can't be taken off like a standard roof where you just strip off one section at a time. It would have to be cut section by section because there is so much weight there that if you started stripping it off, it would collapse. The walls have bent in so far that in order to rebuild there, you'd have to take it all the way down to the 2 or 3 feet above the foundation, about this high. The walls have all begun to buckle in. The windows aren't operating correctly.
So why don't they just demo it and start over?
That's an option. So one of the things that we looked at was leasing a piece of property for the police department. That way we wouldn't be making a decision right away as to where we wanted to purchase. We could determine where the best location was for the police department. Jeff Eder, our Community Development Director. Jeff Eder, where are you at?
Right here in front.
Thank you. Jeff Eder has been working on finding a location for the police department. He identified a number of different properties. The police department, as well as our architect, Jeff Eder, and our engineer have evaluated a number of different locations. One of the locations that was for lease was also for sale. One of the properties that we were looking at would cost, in fact, all of the properties would cost probably $960,000 in the first year just to build it out so that the police station could use it. Additionally, we would have to pay rent each year to them and pay for a build-out fee for those following years. At the end of the term of the lease, we wouldn't be able to recoup any of the costs of the build-out. That would be lost. One of the properties we were looking at was also for sale. One of the difficulties that you face if a municipality is leasing a piece of property is that you get no tax exemption. The village properties, the fire station, the police station, the water, the street, the fleet maintenance, the village hall, those are all tax exempt because they're municipal buildings and the county doesn't tax them. But if you lease a piece of property from a private owner, that property is not tax exempt. The property that we are looking at purchasing had a tax bill each year, a real estate tax bill of $166,000. So one of the options was, if we purchased it, we would automatically be able to save $166,000 a year. So we're looking into that. The bond to pay for the purchase of the new police station, the annual cost to pay the bond for the new police station is going to be about $792,000 a year. So if you add that on to the $2.5 million deficit, you're looking at about a $3.3 million deficit. So we looked at a number of different ways to cut costs, and we've been asking residents for a number of months, approximately 9 months to be exact, what recommendations they would make to cut expenses. One of our challenges was we have a great fire department with many of those members here. We have a great police department, and 73% of our budget goes to the police and fire. A worthy cause, an expenditure that most of you support. That if we made no modifications to the police or fire, that would leave us with 27% of the budget to pay for about an 18 or 19% budget shortfall.